I pushed open the lake house door, champagne bottle in one hand, gift bag in the other. The drive had taken 3 hours, but I wanted to surprise Zach for his birthday. The moaning hit me first. Low, rhythmic, unmistakable. I froze in the entryway, my brain refusing to process what my ears already knew. Then I heard her voice. My mother's voice. Breathless and laughing. My keys slipped from my fingers, clattering against the hardwood floor like thunder. The sound stopped. Footsteps. She appeared at the top of the stairs, wrapped in a sheet, her blonde hair messy. Our eyes met. She smiled. Not a guilty smile. Not an apologetic smile. A victorious smile. Behind her, Zach stumbled into view, scrambling to pull on his jeans. His face went white when he saw me. I ran. My legs moved before my brain could catch up. I made it to the driveway before my stomach revolted. I vomited on the gravel, my whole body shaking. Behind me, I heard the door open. Her voice carried across the yard, clear and sharp. You were never woman enough for him anyway, Allison. The words hit harder than anything physical could. I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand and stumbled to my car. Zach was calling my name now, panic replacing the shock. I didn't look back. I couldn't. 2 months. We were supposed to get married in 2 months. The invitations had been sent. The dress was being altered. The deposits were paid. And my mother, the woman who gave birth to me, had destroyed it all. My name is Allison Parker, and I'm 29 years old. This betrayal didn't start at the lake house. It started in my childhood, in 1,000 small moments I'd spent years trying to forget. My mother, Lauren, always made me feel like I wasn't enough. When my dad left when I was 8, she told me it was my fault for being too needy. You cry too much, she'd said, staring out the kitchen window while I sobbed at the table. No wonder he couldn't stand being here. I learned to be independent after that. I put myself through college with scholarships and 3 part-time jobs. I built a career in marketing. I bought my own apartment. When Zach proposed last year, I thought I'd finally won. Finally proved I was worthy of something good. Lauren had gushed when I introduced her to Zach 2 years ago. She'd hugged him, held his arm, laughed at all his jokes. You finally did something right, Allison, she'd said later that night, like my entire life up to that point had been a series of failures. I'd glowed under that rare approval. Now, sitting in my car outside a gas station 40 miles from the lake house, I replayed every interaction. The way she'd insisted on helping plan the wedding. The flirty jokes she'd made at family dinners. If I were 30 years younger, Zach, she'd say, and everyone would laugh. The 2 long hugs. The way she'd touch his shoulder when she talked to him. I'd wanted her approval so badly that I'd ignored every red flag waving in my face. My phone vibrated in the cup holder. A text from Zach. Allison, please let me explain. It's not what you think. I love you. Come back. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. 4 hours earlier, he'd sent me a different message. Can't wait to start our life together, babe. You're everything to me. I opened my Photos app and started screenshotting. Every sweet text. Every promise. Every lie wrapped in declarations of love. I created a folder and backed it up to the cloud. Then I opened my banking app. Our joint account, the one we'd opened for wedding expenses, showed a balance of $12,000. I transferred my half to my personal account. Every receipt, every transaction, every piece of evidence. I was saving it all. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. My sister Ashley called while I was still parked at the gas station. I almost didn't answer, but some part of me needed to know if she'd been in on it too. Allison, Mom told me what happened, she said before I could speak. Her voice was careful, measured. Look, you're overreacting. It's not like they're in love or anything. I felt something cold settle in my chest. They slept together, Ashley. She sighed, annoyed. Zach was never that into you anyway. Honestly, you should be relieved you found out now. My own sister. My younger sister by 3 years, who'd always been Mom's favorite. Another knife sliding between my ribs. "Don't call me again," I said quietly, and hung up. I sat there for a long time, watching cars pull in and out of the gas station, feeling like my entire family had been a lie. 3 years ago, at Thanksgiving, Mom made me sit at the folding table in the kitchen with Ashley's kids. I was 26. Ashley had laughed about it, said I was being sensitive. Zach had been there, newly my boyfriend, and he'd tried to speak up. "There's room at the main table," he'd said. Mom had cut him off, all charm and smiles. "Zach, honey, come help me carve the turkey. Let Allison keep the kids company." I'd watched him follow her into the kitchen, had seen the way she leaned close to him, laughing at something he said. At the time, I'd thought she was just being friendly. Now I wondered if that was when it started. If she'd been grooming him even then, testing the waters, seeing if he'd respond to her attention. I drove to Kate's apartment in the city. She was my best friend from college, the only person who'd never made me feel like I was too much or not enough. She opened the door in pajamas, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. "I caught them," I said, and the words felt like broken glass in my throat. "Zach and my mom. At the lake house." Kate's expression shifted from shock to something else. Something that looked like she'd been waiting for this. She made tea, sat me down on her couch, and said the words I needed to hear. "I always had a gut feeling about him and your mom. The way he was too nice to her. It was creepy." I'd laughed it off back then, when she'd mentioned it last Christmas. I hadn't wanted to see it. "You were right," I whispered. "About everything." I stayed with Kate for 3 days. I didn't answer calls. I didn't respond to texts. Zach sent 47 messages. Mom sent 12, each one more defensive than the last. "You're being dramatic. We need to talk like adults." This is exactly why he turned to me. Ashley sent one message, "You're tearing this family apart." I blocked all of them. The silence felt powerful. Let them wonder. Let them panic. Let them sit in the mess they'd created while I figured out my next move. On the 4th day, Kate showed me something on social media. Zach and Mom had posted a photo together. They were on a boat, sun setting behind them. She was wearing my white bikini, the one I'd left at the lake house. The caption read, "Life has a funny way of working out." My old coworker had sent it to Kate with 3 words, "What the hell?" I went to see my dad. He lived 2 hours north in a small town where he'd retired after remarrying. We weren't particularly close, but he'd always been kind to me in his quiet way. He'd left when I was 8, but he'd paid child support, sent birthday cards, called on holidays. When I told him what happened, he went still. Then he stood up, disappeared into his office, and came back with an envelope. "I've been holding on to this," he said. "I didn't know when to give it to you." Inside was a letter from 2 years ago and legal documents. He'd purchased an investment property downtown before he retired. The deed was in my name. "I wanted you to have security," he explained. "I told your mother to tell you, but I guess she never did. She'd hidden it. Kept it secret. But it was still legally mine." I took ownership of the property the next week. It was a small commercial building in a decent neighborhood, currently leased to a coffee shop and a yoga studio. The tenants paid rent on time. The income was modest but steady. I met with a contractor and started planning renovations to the empty 3rd floor. I could turn it into a studio apartment or a workspace. My sanctuary. My rise. While Mom was posting boat pictures with my ex-fiancé, I was quietly building something real. Something she couldn't touch. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd hidden this asset, probably hoping to claim it somehow later, and instead it became the foundation of my fresh start. I didn't tell anyone except Kate and my dad. Let them think I was broken. Let them underestimate me. I remembered something Mom had said once, about 6 months ago. We'd been at dinner, and she'd been drinking wine, getting loose with information. "Zach's credit is trash, but I helped him out," she'd said, laughing. "Co-signed for his car. He'll pay me back eventually." At the time, I'd thought it was generous. Maternal, even, toward my future husband. Now I understood it differently. I went online and checked public records. There it was. A car loan for $38,000, co-signed by Allison Parker. She was financially tied to him. If he defaulted, her credit tanked too. I saved the documents. Added them to my folder. Every piece of evidence was a thread I was collecting, weaving them into a rope that would eventually hang them both. Patience. Strategy. Those were my weapons now. 2 months after catching them, after the wedding date we'd planned came and went, I threw a housewarming party at my newly renovated apartment above the property. I invited everyone. Coworkers. College friends. Neighbors. Extended family. Everyone except Mom, Zach, and Ashley. The party was beautiful. Catered food, good wine, laughter echoing through the space I'd built myself. People posted photos on social media. I made sure they were public. By the next morning, Mom had seen them. She left me a voice message, her voice tight with barely controlled rage. Must be nice, living off handouts from your father. Some of us actually work for what we have. I smiled as I listened to it. She had no idea the property was mine. She thought I was just renting. I saved the voice message too. Ashley showed up at my door 3 weeks later. Alone. Her mascara was smudged, her confidence shattered. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I let her in, more out of curiosity than kindness. She sat on my couch and told me her husband had left her. He'd emptied their savings and moved across the country with someone he'd met online. She was broke. Living with Mom temporarily. "Mom's changed lately," she whispered, picking at her nails. "She's obsessed with Zach. It's like she's trying to prove something." I made coffee and let her talk. When she finally asked if I'd help her financially, I shook my head. "You chose her side." She started crying, and through the tears, she said something that changed everything. "I have emails. From before. From Zach to Mom. I thought you should know." Ashley forwarded me the emails that night. I opened them on my laptop, Kate sitting beside me, both of us reading in stunned silence. They dated back 8 months before my engagement. Before Zach had proposed. The first email was casual. Friendly. By the third, the tone had shifted. Flirtatious. By the 10th, they were planning something. "We should do this right," Zach had written. "Make it convincing. She won't suspect anything." Mom's response made my blood run cold. "Let's do it. She's not really my daughter anyway." What did that mean? I read the line 5 times. Kate grabbed my hand. "Allison, what does she mean?" I didn't know. But I was going to find out. I called my dad that night and asked him a question I'd never thought to ask before. "Am I really yours?" The DNA test took 2 weeks. I used a home kit, sent it to a lab, and waited. My dad did the same. When the results came back, I sat in my car in the parking lot of the lab and opened the email. Not a match. He wasn't my biological father. I called him immediately, my voice shaking. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I always wondered. Your mother told me you were mine when she got pregnant. I loved you anyway, Allison. That never changed. He'd raised me. Paid for things. Stayed in my life even after he left Mom. He'd chosen me. But she'd lied. She'd trapped him with a lie, secured child support for 18 years, and never told the truth. I didn't know who my real father was. And apparently, Mom had known all along that her hold on me was built on deception. I dug deeper. I contacted a lawyer who specialized in inheritance and family law. I showed him the DNA results, my dad's will, and explained the situation. He reviewed everything carefully. "The will is specific," he explained. "It says, my daughter by love, not by blood. Your father anticipated this possibility. Legally, you inherit everything. Mom had assumed that if the truth ever came out, I'd lose the inheritance. That's why she'd hidden the property disclosure. She'd been planning for the day she could swoop in and claim it, maybe argue that since I wasn't blood, I had no right. But my dad had protected me. Even knowing I might not be his, he'd made sure I'd be taken care of. The lawyer smiled. She gets nothing. You get everything. That's ironclad. I felt something settle in my chest. Not quite peace, but close. Justice, maybe. 6 months after I caught them at the lake house, they announced their engagement. My mother and my ex-fiancé were getting married. Ashley sent me the news with a screenshot of Mom's Facebook post. The photo showed them on a beach, Mom's hand extended to show off a ring. The venue listed in the comments was the same one I'd booked for our wedding. They hadn't even changed locations. The date was set for 3 months away. I stared at the post for a long time. Kate looked over my shoulder and said, "You're going, right?" I smiled. I wouldn't miss it. I opened my laptop and found the RSVP link. I clicked yes for one guest. I'd be bringing someone special. Me. The version of myself they'd underestimated. The one who'd been collecting evidence. The one who was about to burn their world down. I spent the next 3 months preparing. I compiled everything. The emails Ashley had forwarded. Bank statements showing the joint account Zach had drained. Audio recordings from the voice messages Mom had left. Screenshots of their social media posts. The co-signed car loan documents. The DNA test results. The proof that Mom had lied about my paternity for 29 years. I hired a video editor, someone discreet who worked in documentary film. We created a 15-minute presentation. Timeline. Evidence. Testimonials from Ashley, who'd agreed to speak on camera about what she knew. The editor set it to music. Made it devastating. Made it undeniable. I had it loaded onto a flash drive. Kate helped me pick out a dress. Something stunning. Red. Unforgettable. "You're going to ruin them," she said. "I know," I replied. The engagement party was held at the same venue where I was supposed to have my wedding reception. I walked in alone, head high, wearing the red dress and heels that made me feel powerful. People stared. Whispered. I ignored them all. Mom spotted me from across the room. Her face went pale, then flushed with anger. Zach looked like he wanted to disappear. I walked straight to the gift table and placed a wrapped box among the other presents. The card read, "Play me." Inside was the flash drive and a portable projector, along with simple instructions. I didn't give a speech. Didn't cause a scene. I found a seat near the back, crossed my legs, and waited. Zach opened gifts during the toasts. Someone handed him my box. He laughed when he read the card. Mom's face showed panic. "Don't," she said, but it was too late. They hooked up the projector out of curiosity. The lights dimmed. My voice filled the room first. "Thank you all for coming." Since I wasn't allowed to give a toast, I prepared something special. The video started. It opened with the emails. Zach's words on screen. "Make it convincing." Mom's response. "She's not really my daughter anyway." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The timeline unfolded. Screenshots of dates, proof they'd been planning this before my engagement. Bank statements showing Zach's debt and Mom's co-signed loan. Her voice messages played, cruel and dismissive. Then Ashley appeared on screen, explaining what she'd witnessed, what she'd hidden. The DNA results flashed up. Proof that Mom had lied about my paternity. The final screen showed one sentence: "The truth always surfaces. Congratulations on your fraudulent love story." The room erupted. Mom was screaming. Zach was frozen. I stood up and walked out. The fallout was immediate and brutal. By the next morning, the video had been shared across social media. Someone had recorded it on their phone and posted it. It went viral in our community. Mom lost her teaching position at the elementary school after parents complained. The school board called it a moral issue, a breach of trust. Zach's car got repossessed 2 weeks later when he couldn't make payments. Mom's credit was destroyed by the default. She'd co-signed, so she was equally responsible. Their engagement was called off within a month. Apparently, financial ruin and public humiliation weren't great foundations for marriage. Zach moved back in with his parents. Mom stayed in her apartment, but I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd become isolated. Ashley had cut ties completely, moved to another state. The family that broke me had shattered under the weight of their own lies. I legally changed my last name to my dad's surname. Thompson. Allison Thompson. It felt like shedding old skin. I opened a business in the renovated space above the coffee shop. A marketing consultancy. Small at first, just me and a part-time assistant. But it grew. Word spread that I was good at what I did. I specialized in brand recovery, helping businesses rebuild after scandals. The irony was beautiful. I didn't post about my success on social media. Didn't send updates to old family members. I simply existed in my new life, quiet and elegant and healed. My dad came to visit often. We built a real relationship, one based on honesty instead of obligation. Kate became my business partner. We were thriving. Completely removed from the people who'd tried to destroy me. A year after the engagement party, I received a message from Mom. I'd blocked her number, but she found me through email. The subject line read, "Please." I almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity won. The email was long, rambling, full of justifications and half-apologies. She blamed her childhood. Blamed her insecurities. Blamed everyone but herself. The final paragraph caught my attention. "I know I hurt you. I know I can never take it back. But you're still my daughter. Please give me another chance." I read it twice. Then I typed a response. 5 words. "You said I wasn't yours." I hit send and blocked her email. That was the last communication we ever had. Some bridges aren't meant to be repaired. Some people don't deserve access to your healing. I'd learned that lesson the hard way, but I'd learned it completely. 2 years after catching them at the lake house, I sat in my office, looking out at the city below. My business had expanded to a second location. I'd hired 5 employees. The building my dad gave me had tripled in value. I'd started dating someone new, a professor I'd met at a networking event. He was kind. Steady. He didn't know my mother, and I preferred it that way. Some stories didn't need to be told. I thought about revenge sometimes. Whether it had been worth it. The answer was always yes. Not because I'd destroyed them, though that had been satisfying. But because I'd discovered who I was without them. I'd built something real from the ashes of their betrayal. The best revenge wasn't the video or the public humiliation. It was this. My peace. My success. My life completely separate from theirs. They'd lost access to me forever. And that, I realized, was the greatest victory of all.